Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back here with you on this beautiful Saturday morning, 12 minutes past 10 a.m. East African time. For those of you that are just joining us, it's a bit of a chilly morning out there. The sun is out, but quite in a dull manner, I must say. As we speak, for those of you that are just waking up, we've already premiered our video that I promised you about Manchester United in regards to our discussion on what type of Manchester United, on what type of manager do Manchester United need. Now, I did not give specific conclusions in that video. I left it quite honestly or intentionally for Manchester United fans to be the ones to make up their minds to decide what they want. I put the options on the table for you, and the implications of those things, options, and in those respective categories, what the options you could look at. So it all simply boiled down to Man United and what they hope to do or what they would have loved to do when it comes to their managerial appointment in the summer. There's a lot of people, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people. I don't think they qualify for majority who seem to think that if Michael Adrian Carrick, if he can't guide Manchester United to a top four finish, which implies UEFA Champions League football next season, then he should be handed the Manchester United job and let him go on with it. So there's that school of thought, really, and then also the people who seem to think, no, we need to get in somebody with more experience. It's something that they've done before with Luis Van Gaal, with Jose Mourinho, but yet again, eventually they deemed it did not work out well for them. So it's that kind of conversation or debate that I want us to have. So continue the conversation down in the comment section of that video. It's about the video is about 26 minutes only. So you please spare the time and watch that video and let me know what your thoughts are on that video and on that topic in general when it comes to Manchester United's vacant managerial role. I say vacant because it is vacant with Michael Carrick only an interim, so anything can happen with him. So I want us to really engage on it, and because I want to hear from the Man United fans and their side of the story in regards to what they think. The kind of direction their club ought to be taking at this stage now on, because I mean it's been 13 years ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, so it will be quite interesting. It's a topic also we did discuss on TikTok yesterday in a TikTok forum by a gentleman called Nando Sports, and thank you so much for the people on TikTok that give us your time to listen in as we go through those discussions. So while we're having the discussions, of course, I lay my cards on the table. I made more or less the same analogies that I do make in that very video, because by the time I went in for that conversation, I was done shooting that video, but because of my schedule, it was set for today's premiere. So, but of course, we went on to have to discuss what is Man United's culture in terms of their playing style, the Ferguson type, counter-attacking football side of team, not very entertaining, but getting results on board. Of course, they will be entertaining to their fans, who, for as long as they're winning, for as long as they have the electric wingers and things like that. So it's that sort of conversation that I hope to spark with that video on the channel. So please go ahead and watch it and leave me your thoughts down the comment section. Then also, I want to send out my special thanks to all of you that were part of last night's discussion. Thank you so much for making it worthwhile as we dissected for about 50 minutes as we looked into what's to come in the FA Cup action today. We talked about the games that there was last night, of course, and today we'll be looking at some of the results from last night. Bayern Munich 4-1 winners against Borussia Mönchengladbach. PSG beaten by AC Monaco. Real Madrid having to leave it late, and then Liverpool are getting a number on Wolverhampton Wanderers, something that we had predicted, not with the perfect score, but at least with the anticipation that Liverpool were intent on avoiding the double loss humiliation against the same side in Wolverhampton Wanderers. So they managed to overcome that hurdle and are on their match onto their next fixture, which will be against Galatasaray in the UEFA Champions League before then returning over the weekend. Will be next weekend for their action. Then, so really, very, very interesting. Where do we start it all? Then we'll also have the discussion about the FA Cup games coming up. Arsenal fans, I know you expect so many changes in your team today when you take on Mansfield Town, but please remember that Maz Lewis Kelly is not going to be part of that. Yeah, he's suspended. Yeah. You're surprised, or perhaps if you're surprised, well, I too was when I learned of the reasons. Anyways, let's begin with the action from last night. We'll kick things off in the French League One, where PSG lost to AC Monaco by 3-1. Now, the scoreline, I don't know if it tells the perfect story of the game in itself, because while PSG were dominant in possession, in attempts or in total attempts on goal, they lacked the clinical touch to win this game, because before Monaco go ahead, PSG had some chances through Bradley Bacola and I think Akraf Hakimi, So, and then, football is funny, or sometimes can be funny. On the other end, when Magnus Akleucho scores in the 27th minute, Warren Zaire-Emery wins the ball back near the edge of the byline and the outside line near the 18 yards box. So when he wins the ball back, he decides to cut back and enters his own box. And then he concedes possession while he's in his own box. The ball is fumbled in between there, lands on the feet of Florian Balogun before it ends up with Clercho hitting it in the roof of the net. Beautiful goal. And Monaco were suddenly 1-0 up. And they managed to hold on to that and went into halftime with that 1-0 lead. But I thought it was a very, very beautiful performance for Monaco. It wasn't dominant, but they were just doing enough to create goal scoring chances on the other side. Really, they weren't being dominant on the ball. So, okay. Then also, before that goal comes, around the 24th minute, PSG had the chance through Kivica Kvaratskhelia, but then, there was a timely block from a Monaco defender on that one. And then in the 44th minute, Pedro Fernandez was, in that PSG team, also missed a chance. And there it was. Then we come back for the second half. In the 55th minute, that's 10 minutes after the restart, Alexander Govin pounces on a loose ball in the area and puts it in the back of the net. Now, to tell you how effective Monaco were with their attempts is that they even forced Safanov, that's the Russian goalkeeper who, of course, is playing the trade for PSG. Lucas Chavelia has been dropped to the bench. So he had some really, really impressive saves. That's for Matej Safanov. And then still again in this in the 55th minute, Govin scores, Alexander Govin. For those of you that do remember, the Russian international at the 2018 World Cup was one of those standout players. Then in the 58th minute, he forces Safanov into a save that is Alexander Govin once again. And then in the 68th minute, Bradley Bacola missed a golden chance to pull one back. But then about 2 minutes later, he eventually scored to make it 2-1 with that strike from Bradley Bacola took a slight deflection from Tez to deny Philip Cohn in goal the chance of getting onto that ball. The AC Monaco goalkeeper, who I equally thought had a very, very good performance yesterday. That is Philip Cohn. But yeah, that strike from Bradley Bacola had a slight deflection from Tez. And then in the 72nd minute, Safanov was once again forced into another brilliant save thanks to an attempt from Lamine Camara there. Shot 15 of AC Monaco. And then in just a minute later, I think it was Lee Kang-in. I don't remember who exactly fumbled the ball or lost conceded possession, but Lee Kang-in was in the mix of that before Florian Balogun scored a stunning goal to make it 3-1 on the night. And then Simon Adingra in the 88th minute had an attempt that hit the crossbar. So in terms of effectiveness on chances created or going forward, that's how effective that PSG side was. Sorry, that Monaco side was. But statistically, both sides had 6 attempts on goal. In terms of shots on target, they had PSG had 10 shots off target with only 3 for Monaco. PSG dominated the game, 72% in ball possession compared to Monaco's only 28%. PSG had 7 corner kicks compared to Monaco's 3. So in terms of dominating possession, creating chances or opportunities, I thought PSG were the better side. They were just not clinical enough, you know. And then, of course, like I said, Philip Cohn did really put on a good performance to keep them at bay, and Monaco walked away with all 3 points. Now, they came into that fixture on the backdrop of a double-header between the same side in the playoffs of the UEFA Champions League, for which PSG managed to overcome Monaco. But remember, on both occasions, Monaco had been reduced to 10 men, with Koulibaly, who I thought had a really, really beautiful performance, being the one sent off in the second leg of that fixture that ended in a 2-all draw, while PSG had beaten up against Monaco by 3-2 in the first leg. So if I were to sum up PSG's season, using those 3 fixtures that they have faced up with Monaco in recent times, I would say PSG have been far from convincing, really. Anyways, nonetheless, they remain at the summit of the French League One standings with after 25 games played. They lead with 57 points. That means if RC Lens are able to win this weekend, they will move within a point behind the reigning champions, while the victory put Monaco to 5th place with 40 points after 25 games played, just slightly ahead over Lille, who are in 6th with a similar number of points, as well as Stade Rennes, who have a similar number of points. That means it's goal difference that puts Monaco above them, but the other 2 are yet to play their 25th game. In 3rd place is Lyon and Marseille in 4th place with 45 and 43 points respectively. So that was the game there from the French Ligue 1. Then quickly in the German Bundesliga, like I told you, Bayern Munich beat up against a 10-man Borussia Mönchengladbach by 4-1. Luis Diaz providing the assist in that one for Leyma, but that was at the tail end of the first half. But it was him that broke the deadlock with a goal in the 33rd minute, with Leon Goretzka providing the assist in that one. So then in the first minute of the stoppage time of the first half, then Leyma or Luis Suarez goal scorer turn provider when Leyma scored to make it 2-0. And then in the 10 minutes after the restart, Reitiz, he's called Rocco Reitiz, got himself sent off with a straight red card, and that means Borussia Mönchengladbach have been reduced to 10 men. Then Jamal Musiala scored in the 57th minute from the penalty spot to make it 3-0, while Nicholas Jackson was also on the score sheet in the 79th minute with Leonard Karl providing the assist there to make it 4-0. And then Moya scored to pull one back for the visitors at the Allianz Arena. Of course, Bayern Munich made some significant changes with the likes of Michael Olise not starting in that game. Of course, you did not have Hurricane in that one. He was out with a knock. You did not have Alexander Pavlovich in that one. I remember they do have a game in the UEFA Champions League next week away to Atlanta. So, that some of them did not feature. So you had Manuel Neuer in goal, you had Konrad Laimer, David Upamecano alongside Kim Min-jae, you had Tom Bischoff there playing in there, Joshua Kimmich, Leon Goretzka, you had Leonard Karl, Jamal Musiala, Luis Diaz, and Nicholas Jackson. So those are the that's how the Bayern Munich set up. Like I told you, most of the big teams that are playing this weekend will play at the back with them at the back of their mind, and knowing that they have UEFA Champions League engagements come next week. So when you see a lot of changes within those respective starting 11s, please bear in mind that those respective teams have that kind of engagement to bear in mind ahead of next week. Then also in the Italian Serie A, we had a game in between Napoli, who beat up against Torino by 2-1, and Santos, Alson Santos, scoring in that one in the 7th minute to give Napoli the lead, while Elmas also scored to make it 2-0 for Napoli before Casaidi, something like that, scored for Torino to pull one back, and it finished 2-1 there in favor of the Scudetto reigning champions, even though I do not think they will be able to defend their title this season, because at the summit of things is Inter Milan, who have opened a 10 points lead ahead of them, or between them and the second place AC Milan. And this weekend we have the Milan derby on Super Sunday that will kick off, I think, at 11 p.m. So please be sure to look out for that one going into the weekend. Then also, then now let's move on to the Spanish La Liga, where Real Madrid had to left it late as they beat up against Celta Vigo by 2-1. Far from an impressive performance, but nonetheless, they will be happy that they took the 3 points that helped them to move within just a point behind Barcelona, who I think played today against Bilbao. San Mamés, I think. Barcelona in action today. So that was Real Madrid for you. But Aurelio Tchouameni on target there to give Real Madrid the lead. That was in the 11th minute, with Adagula providing the assist. But prior to that, Vinicius Jr. had hit the base of the upright in attempting to give Real Madrid the lead. So Real Madrid had a bit of a sharp start to the game. They did create the chances, but they were just not being clinical with them. So Vinicius Jr. hitting the base of the upright, and then Tchouameni, but before he even scores, because he scored, I think, in the 11th minute, but before he scores, he had an attempt for himself and be denied. And then in the 25th minute, Iglesias scored he scored the equalizer. Borja Iglesias, that was in the 25th minute. He scored to restore parity, and the game sort of went into a bit of I don't want to say a dull state, but a state in which neither side were really creating key chances. Nonetheless, it would not be a game of football if Thibaut Courtois had not come to the rescue of Real Madrid on at least 2 different occasions with some really brilliant saves. So with one coming in the 45th minute of that game, and then Iago Aspas also in the 87th minute was close to giving Celta Vigo the lead in that game when he hit at the base of the upright. Thibaut Courtois at the time looked really beaten, and I mean the ball was destined for the back of the net, so it's at the base of the upright that came to the rescue of Real Madrid. And then in the 95th minute of the game of stoppage time, or 94th minute there, Fede Valverde scored. His ball took a deflection, but nonetheless it hit the back of the net. There was a VAR check for a foul in the build-up to the goal, but it was cleared, and then that's how Real Madrid managed to collect all 3 points in that game. So Like I said, the result simply means that they have moved within a second place. Sorry, they were second already, but it means that they moved within a point behind Barcelona at 63 points, with Barcelona leading with 64. But Barcelona have a game to spare, and they will be playing that game later on today. In third place is Atletico de Madrid with 51 points, as is the fourth place Villarreal. So those are the standings. Apologies for the tripod shape there. It was an accidental. So really, that's the Spanish La Liga for you in regards to the top four, but it's a two-horse race title. In the Italian Serie A, just like in the German Bundesliga, it's a one-horse race title. Bayern Munich are miles ahead. As Inter Milan on the other side of the aisle. So even if AC Milan were to beat Inter Milan tomorrow, it will simply mean that Inter Milan still have a 7-point cushion. When you go to the German Bundesliga, I think it's about a 14 points difference between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, because last weekend Bayern Munich beat up against Borussia Dortmund in the Derby di Klaska by 3-2. So to further widen that gap, and for me, I believe without an ounce of reasonable doubt that title is already done and dusted for Bayern Munich. Looks like Vincent Kompany is yet again going to win his second German Bundesliga title, the first coming last season in his debut campaign. That was the 2024-2025 campaign. He's already extended his contract, I think, with another 2 years. So I think for him, the main task, even though there's still some bit of distance to go to get it over the line but in the German Bundesliga, I think his main attention is now going to be on the UEFA Champions League, in which they are up against Atlanta for that round of 16 double header. Then moving on, of course, yesterday we did have one game in the FA Cup. And that was the game between Wolverhampton Wanderers against Liverpool. Once again, Wolves welcoming Liverpool to Molineux. Like I told you, I had reservations in regards to how I thought Liverpool would set up, but because I had also mentioned it that Liverpool have such a small squad, they lack the sufficient squad depth in terms of numbers, and perhaps by extension, perhaps you can make the argument that in terms of quality, so they went with some of the elite players. I was a bit surprised, but that with the way with the way Arne Slot chose his team, but again, not too surprised, because I understood the significance of the moment for Arne Slot, because he knew he needed to win by hook or crook for him to be able to avoid any form of embarrassment, because the last thing he would have wanted would be losing to Wolverhampton Wanderers twice in a space of just a couple of days, really. So he saved himself the embarrassment by fielding a really, really strong side there. Good morning, Pressing Kosi. How are you doing, my brother? It's been a minute. How is South Africa? I hope you're doing okay there, Pressing Kosi. An Arsenal fan joins us from South Africa. He's in the recent past become a semi-regular on the channel, but I do hope you're doing all right. So Liverpool set up with Alson Ramsey-Specker in goal. Virgil van Dijk alongside Joe Gomez were the starters. So Ibrahim Konate was the rested man, although he came on later on. Dominic Szoboszlai started at right back with Andy Robertson at left back. McAllister and Gravenberch in midfield. Ahead of them was Curtis Jones, Rion Gumoha, Mohamed Salah, and Cody Gakpo. So a pretty strong starting 11 there for Liverpool, while on the other side, Wolverhampton Wanderers made some changes, introducing the likes of Sam Johnston, Yason Mosquera was in there, as well as Santiago Bueno, Totti Gomez, Jackson, Jean Rena Balgard, João Gomez, Matas Mane, Hugo Bueno, Angel Gomez, and then Toku Adelarete. Yes. Tolu, not Toku. Tolu Adelarete was in there. You said, no, I'm a Liverpool fan. Oh, my apologies, Pressing Kosi. My apologies, sincerely. Thanks for that correction, really. So Pressing Kosi is a Liverpool fan, and I'm sure he was delighted for the win, even though it's the FA Cup. normally doesn't bring that great excitement as it does in the Premier League, but he will be happy with the victory, getting a number on Wolverhampton Wanderers, who had done them dirty just days earlier on Tuesday when they beat them by 2-1. So the first half was a bit of a strange performance. Really, it did not create much. I think the only chance Liverpool had came through a set piece. So it did not produce much. It was, because I was watching 3 games. I was watching the Real Madrid the Real Madrid game with Celta Vigo. I was watching the PSG Monaco game, and then the Liverpool game with Wolverhampton Wanderers. But in as far as the opening 45 minutes were, it was a bit of a muted performance from both sides between Liverpool and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then Liverpool started to turn on the gears into the second half there. You say, it's okay, you the Arsenal fan. Yep, I am. I think it comes from the idea that I've encountered quite a couple of Arsenal fans on here. I think I've had like 3 or 4 Liverpool fans. It's you. There's one called Daniel Tuton. There's another calls himself LFC. I think he's from the UK. Daniel Tuton, same. So there's been quite a couple of Liverpool fans here. I've had the Barcelona fans, Real Madrid fans, a Chelsea fan, actually 2 Chelsea fans, Man United fans. I've had a couple also on the channel, but not too many. So we'll see. Okay, so in the second half, Liverpool started to switch on the gears, and then Curtis Jones provided the assist as Andy Robertson went from distance to beat Sam Johnston in goal to score. That was in the 51st minute to give Liverpool the lead, and then shortly after that, 2 minutes later, Mohamed Salah, the goal scorer in Andy Robertson, turned provider as Mohamed Salah had an easy tap in at the back end of the post. Initially, it had been flagged for offside, but as soon as I saw the first phase of replay, I knew it was not offside one bit. The advantage for them was that at this stage in the FA Cup, you had video assistant referee, contrary or as opposed to what you had in the previous round, which was the 4th round. So here at the at the round of 16 or the 5th round, you have video assistant referee. So they were able to revisit that decision, and the goal was given. So Mo Salah there on the score sheet. And then in the 74th minute, Curtis Jones there, who had provided the assist for the first goal, really went on a good run. And I mean, it's quite a brilliant goal. It's a bit of more like he placed it in the bottom corner beyond the reach of Sam Johnston. It looked really, really impressive. Gravenberch, providing the assist for that. But it wouldn't have been a game of football if Liverpool hadn't conceded, and therefore Wang Hee-chan scored in the first minute of stoppage time to pull one back for Wolves And then it was, by the way, the assist was from the goalkeeper, Sam Johnston. So it was that long overhead pass that Wang Hee-chan ran onto and beat Ason Ramses Baker in goal. Man of the match performance from Rion Gomoha. Yes, he may have not scored, he may have not assisted, but he had a very, very brilliant performance in that game. I thought he did well, as well as Andy Robertson. I think he also did well. If I had to choose anybody other than Rion Gomoha, I think Andy Robertson would have been my number 2, in my opinion. So yeah, that was the performance from Liverpool. So on the match and head into, then also maybe briefly, we saw a return of Florian Wirtz in that game. So that is ahead of the UEFA Champions League tie against Galatasaray. I mentioned it that Galatasaray is one of the teams that beat Liverpool at the league phase of the UEFA Champions League this season already. So they will be traveling to Turkey to meet the Turkish Super League giants next week. Okay, moving on into what else there is to come this weekend. In as far as the FA Cup is concerned, Arsenal will come in the early kickoff when they go to Mansfield Town at 3:15 p.m. East African time. And then Wrexham at 8:45 will entertain Chelsea, while Newcastle will host Manchester City in the late kickoff at 11 p.m. And then subsequently on Sunday, Fulham will be up against Southampton at 3 p.m., while at 4:30 p.m., Port Vale will welcome Premier League side Sunderland. Leeds will take on Norwich City at 7:30 p.m. While on a Monday Night Football, West Ham United will be up against Brentford at 10:30 p.m. in as far as the FA Cup is concerned. When it comes to team news for the Arsenal, there's not too much positive news coming out of the Arsenal camp because Mikel Merino remains sidelined, as is the captain, Martin Odegaard. William Saliba is still sidelined, so will not make the trip. That's according to Mikel Arteta. Ben White is still sidelined through injury, while players like Max Dorman are back. So expect to see a very changed Arsenal side when it comes to their team setup. Although I wouldn't be too surprised if Mikel Arteta chose to be a bit stubborn and field some of his, first team players, not out of necessity, but also out of the desire, the innate desire to win. He just has that innate desire to win. So, like I've told you, of course, don't expect to see Ethan Nwaneri. For those of you that do not remember, he's out on loan to Olympique Marseille. Miles Lewis Kelly is suspended, having gotten booked in the game against Port Vale and the subsequent game against Wigan Athletic. So that means he's suspended for this round of games. Then Ben White is injured, as is Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard apparently is looking to be back fully fit for their final against Manchester City in the EFL Cup that will come in about 2 weeks' time. That will be on March the 22nd at Wembley Stadium. That's his target, according to reports coming in from London Colony, or the Sober Royalty Training Center there. Then, so my expectations when it comes to the starting lineup, I think Mikel Arteta will go with Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, because this could be the last game that he plays for Arsenal until he features in that cup final at Wembley, provided Mikel Arteta will trust him to go on and take on Manchester City. So it will be Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. I do think Fury will play at left back in the absence of Miles Lewis Kelly. I think Christian Mosquera will be a feature in that one. I have a feeling we could see Piero Hincapié and then Murray Solomon or Josh Nicholas. Now, a part of me had a feeling or had a thought that maybe he feels Christian Mosquera alongside Murray Solomon, but I feel if he's going to give Josh Nicholas to play at right back in the absence of Ben White, then I don't see a place where he fields two youngsters in Josh Nicholas at right back and Murray Solomon at centre back. So that's why I think Christian Mosquera and Piero Hincapié could play in the same team. Nonetheless, would you take that risk on Piero Hincapié, knowing he's the best partnership that you have alongside Gabriel Magalhaes in the absence of William Saliba and who? Yes, in the absence of William Saliba and Ben White, because that sort of reduces your options in terms of your backline and things like that. So then in the midfield, you expect to see players like Christian Nongalt, Ebeleche Eze playing as your 8. Number 10, I would go with Gabriel Jesus. I'll go with Gabriel Martinelli as the lead striker. I'd go with Noni Madueke to the right wing and Max Dorman to the left wing. That's how I'll play it if I were Mikel Arteta. So if you see anything contrary to that, do not say otherwise. It's just a prediction. You say it would be terrible of Arteta to use first team players. That is Mwesqua Joshua. Good to have you on the broadcast. You say it would be terrible of Arteta to use our first team players. No, I don't think it will be terrible. It will be due to a lack of options. Why? Because imagine if Mikel Merino was fit and available for selection, he could make quite the difference. Being available for games like this. If Ben White was available to play, it would make all the difference. So if Saliba was fully fit, then we wouldn't be having a debate on Mosquera or Pierre Hincapié. So because of those injuries, if Martin Odegaard was available, Ebeleche Eze or him would make it a no-brainer, depending on who had been playing the most number of minutes in recent times, and that has been Ebeleche Eze in the absence of the captain. So the players I do not expect to see, or even wouldn't want to see on the pitch, is Yuan Timber, Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Victor Gyökeres, Gabriel Magalhaes. I just don't want to see them anywhere on the pitch. Why? Because, like I said, fixtures are going to come a little thick and fast going forward, because you played at the weekend, you played in the midweek, you have a game this weekend, then you go again in midweek against Bayer Leverkusen in the UEFA Champions League. Remember, that's an away game in Germany. Then you return at home, you play, I think, against Everton. Then after Everton, you stay at home and play Bayer Leverkusen in the reverse fixture. After that, I think you play AFC Bournemouth. Sorry, you do not play AFC Bournemouth, by the way. You play the finals of the EFL Cup final, and then who knows what else follows after that. So really, when you look at the injuries, and now, guys, please go back to the channel and watch my video that we did premiere yesterday about my worries about Arsenal for the remainder of this season. We highlight some of these things, the injuries, the fatigue that are starting to kick in at a critical part or a critical point of the season, with 3 months left to it, because it's March, April, May. And I say 3 months is with the assumption, if you go all the way to the UEFA Champions League, that means you have a UEFA Champions League final to play come May the 30th away in Budapest, Hungary. So that's where the Champions League final will be played. So that's how you ought to look at things. But yeah, I do agree with whoever says that they wouldn't want to see any of those Arsenal senior players near this team. So I understand where you're coming from, but also remember the FA Cup is a critical part or a critical tournament for Mikel Arteta. Remember, it's the only competition he's won ever since he's coming at Arsenal, and Arsenal, the most successful team in as far as the FA Cup is concerned. They've won it 14 times, Man United, I think, 13 times. So really, it's a competition that they do value. They treat with a lot of respect. So the last thing you would want is get knocked out at the 50th round later on by a Mansfield Town, So really, he wants to give himself a chance. And I don't know if you've observed with Mikel Arteta, he doesn't take too many bets when it comes to fielding what you would pass for a weaker team, really. So that's his nature. His innate desire to win puts him in that sort of position. So that's it for the Arsenal. But like I've told you, Maz Lewis Kelly is suspended for those 2 yellow cards that he got versus Portsmouth and versus Wigan Athletic. That means he's suspended for this game. What a shame, because he would have really, really used the minutes to be part of that. Then, okay, moving on. The other game that I want us to look at is Chelsea. Of course, Chelsea themselves in action as well. Yes, against Wrexham. Chelsea also equally expect a whole host of changes from Liam Rosenior going into that game. I do suspect that because he's dropped Robert Sanchez for his poor performance against Arsenal, you may not be surprised if you see the continuation of fielding Philippe Jacobson for him to, because he's not played so many games in the recent past, you'd want to see him out there getting more match fit and things like that. If the intention is that he will be used in the away game against PSG in the UEFA Champions League next week. Excuse me. In the UEFA Champions League next week. So, but nonetheless, expect to see a cohort of changes from that Chelsea side. I expect to see the likes of Romeo Lavia, maybe playing alongside Dario Esugo, Andre Santos, Garnacho starting. I think Gittens is still out injured. He would have started this kind of game. Mukalo Mudrik is still out on, that it's called what? Indefinite ban? Something like that. Then I don't expect to see a Cole Palmer in there. I expect to see a Pedro Neto returning, I think, from suspension. Then Liam Delap to lead the lines. I expect to see a Mamadou Sarr, maybe alongside the Bernard Padiashili or a Tosin Aderabio, a Malo Gusto, and Joel Hato at right back and left back respectively. That sort of team, those sorts of changes for Liam Rassinia are going into next week, where they do have a very serious fixture against against PSG in the UEFA Champions League. So really, those changes are my expectation, but nonetheless, I do still fancy Chelsea to go ahead and win that fixture, even though Wrexham are no easy team to knock out of the park. Those that have come up against them really would tell just as much. Then quickly moving away to Newcastle and Man City. Both sides have responsibilities upcoming in the UEFA Champions League. Man City will be away from home. Newcastle will be at home against Barcelona. Man City will be away to Real Madrid. So very challenging fixtures. In Newcastle's victory over Manchester United over the weekend, we saw a swap of goalkeepers with Aaron Ramsdale coming in for Nick Pope, who had a horrendous performance in their 3-2 defeat at the hands of Everton at St. James's Park the weekend earlier. So I do suspect that if the continuation is going to be that Aaron Ramsdale starts in goal for the UEFA Champions League, then Nick Pope could start in this one. The likes of, instead of Malik Thiaw and Dan Ban, I'd want to see players like Steven Botman, players like Jamal Lascelles, players like Fabian Shah, if he's available. Tino Livramento, last I checked, was still out through injury, so it doesn't help their cause that much when it comes to player rotation. Lewis Hall could play, but that midfield, of course, Jacob Ramsey is suspended. Bruno Guimaraes has been out through injury, so expect to see the likes of Joe Willock. Maybe you get to see there's a player I'm forgetting. Is it Matthew Longstaff? Because Sean Longstaff. Anyway, one of the Longstaff brothers left for Leeds United. But more changes. But nonetheless, because you're playing Man City, I would understand if you feel the Sandro Tonali and the Gillington. Then ahead of them, the likes of Willian Osula, Nick Voltmada to start, maybe even Yohan Wissa, Harvey Barnes, and then to have the likes of the Anthony Gordons rested for that upcoming game against Barcelona. Then Man City on the other side, they have a squad. Big enough with sufficient depth for them to make sweeping changes across the entire team should they deem it necessary, or as Pep Guardiola will see fit. First of all, Man City have a very good record against Newcastle. This season, they've already beaten them twice in the EFL Cup by 2-0 at St. James's Park before a 3-1 victory in the reverse fixture. Then they just beat them recently in the Premier League by 2-1. Really, Newcastle beat up against Man City in the first leg of the Premier League at St. James's Park by 2-1. So that's the context within which they come into this game. But also prior to that, I think in the last 10 games, you'll find only 2 victories for Newcastle against Man City. The other, I think, was a 1-0 victory. And then you'll find maybe 1 draw. So like I said, Pep Guardiola has an upper hand in this one. So he could field a team with the likes of James Trafford, with the likes of Kushanov, with the likes of Nathan Ake, John Stones. So Kushanov would play for you at right back. You have John Stones and Ake in that centre-back role. You could have Nico O'Reilly at left back and Ryan Atnori and Nico Gonzalez in midfield alongside Tijen Riendas. You could have Phil Foden on one side and Jeremy Doku and Omar Mamush, that kind of team. Pep Guardiola, I suspect, is the one that he will be fielding. Equally, Pep Guardiola will know that it is a serious competition, just as much as Newcastle take it, having won the EFL Cup last season. I think it will be a bit of a step up if they go ahead and win the FA Cup. That's for Newcastle. Pep Guardiola knows the importance of him winning silverware in what could be dubbed his final season at the City Ground or the Etihad Stadium, even though he still has an extra year left to his current contract. So we will wait to see. But again, my favor tilts in the direction of Manchester City to get over this game or to win this game. Then quickly moving on, I think for the Sunday FA Cup games, I won't go deep into them. Fulham, Southampton, it will be a close one. Southampton were in the Premier League last season. Sunderland against Port Vale, I would fancy Sunderland, but surprises do not discriminate in football. We've had some of these underdogs coming up to cause upsets to some of these big teams. I wouldn't want for us to go into the quarterfinals. Excuse me. I wouldn't want us to go into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and then suddenly all the teams we have are Premier League teams at that stage. It would work in the competition's favor to have a Wrexham, to have a Port Vale, a Southampton or a Norwich in there. And I do suspect one of them or two of them could be in there. Realize or meet Mansfield Town, not because it is impossible for them to do a number on Arsenal, but at least it's not an expectation that I would be having. So really look at it that way. Moving on also elsewhere in the action that is coming your way in as far as other European leagues are concerned. In the Spanish La Liga today, you have at 4 p.m. Osasuna are up against Mallorca. At a quarter past 6 p.m., you have Levante against Girona, and at 8:30 p.m., you have Atletico de Madrid against Real Sociedad. Must be an interesting game to look forward to. Then at 11 p.m., Athletic Bilbao will entertain Barcelona at San Mamés. So that fixture will be coming. Then in the German Bundesliga, Heidenheim at 5:30 p.m. Will be up against Hoffenheim. Freiburg will take on Bayer Leverkusen. Mainz 05 will take on VfB Stuttgart, while RB Leipzig will take on Augsburg, as well as Wolfsburg entertaining Hamburg SV. All games kicking off at 5:30 p.m. East African time. And in their late kickoff, AFC Cologne will be at home against Borussia Dortmund. There in the German Bundesliga. In the Italian Serie A, Cagliari welcome Como at 5 p.m., while Udinese travel to Atlanta at 8 p.m. Juventus take on Pisa at 11:15 p.m., while in the French League One, Angers at 7 p.m. will be away to Nantes. Auxerre at 9 p.m. will be up against Strasbourg, while Toulouse will be up against Olympique Marseille at 5 minutes past 11 p.m. Marseille just recently knocked out by Toulouse on post-match penalties. I think they proceeded a 2-2 draw in normal time in the Coupe de France. So there's a bit of a revenge plot in there for Olympique Marseille on Toulouse. Whether they can get it over the line, that will remain to be seen. Then on Super Sunday, in the Spanish La Liga at 4 p.m., Villarreal take on Elche. Then at 6 p.m., Getafe take on Real Betis, while at 8:30 p.m., Sevilla will be up against Rayo Vallecano. And in the late kickoff at 11 p.m., Valencia will take on Deportivo Aves. Then German Bundesliga, St. Pauli will take on Eintracht Frankfurt at 5:30 p.m. Super Sunday, while at 7:30 p.m., Union Berlin will be up against Werder Bremen. In the Italian Serie A, Lecce at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday will take on Cremonese. At 5 p.m. you'll have two games between Bologna and Hellas Verona, while Fiorentina will take on Parma, and at 8 p.m. Genoa will be at home to take on AC Roma. And then in the late kickoff of Super Sunday of the Italian Serie A will come the Milan derby between Inter Milan and AC Milan. Yes, so I do look forward to that game, ceteris paribus, provided all factors are kept constant. Then in the French League One, Lens take on Métis. I've told you if Lens win that game against Métis at 5 p.m. On Sunday, they'll move within a point behind PSG. Then Brest take on Le Havre, that's at 7:15 p.m. As do Lille taking on Lorient, as well as Nice against Rennes, and then at 11 p.m. Nice will be up against Paris FC. So those are the games that will be coming your way in as far as the other major European leagues are concerned. So do not miss out on any of that action as things go. AC Milan just to retreat briefly back to the Milan derby. AC Milan will come into that game without Matteo Gabbia through a thigh injury. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has a jaw injury, while Santiago Gimenez is out with an ankle injury, as well as David Batesagui there. Then on the side of Inter Milan, they will be without their captain, Lautaro Martinez, who is still nursing a calf injury, while Angie Boni also has a muscular injury. So can Christian Chivu do a number on Massimiliano Allegri, whose side won the first leg by a goal to nil. Remember, these two share the same stadium, as AC Milan called it San Siro, and I think Inter Milan called it the Giuseppe Meazza Stadium. So really, that's the fixture. Then last season, we know that AC Milan beat up against Inter by 3-0, while the reverse fixture or the earlier fixture had ended in a 1-1 draw. There's been quite a number of draws in that one, but it's been a minute since Inter Milan beat AC Milan in the Milan Derby. You have to go back to the 2023-2024 season when Inter Milan beat up against AC Milan home and away by 2-1 and by 5-1. So really, sometimes it's been a minute. Then when you go back, there's some semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. That was in 2022-2023 still. Inter Milan completed a double against AC Milan with a 1-0 victory in one of the fixtures and a 2-0 victory in the other. So that's the kind of context or competition that lays between the two sides. As we speak, like I told you, Inter Milan lead the Italian Serie A standings with 67 points, while AC Milan comes second with 57 points. So that's a 10 points disparity between the two sides. So AC Milan will be almost desperate to cut short that deficit, at least reduce it to 7 points after match day 28. That means with 10 games left to play, if Inter Milan can continue to slip up, who knows? Maybe AC Milan return back in the context of the Scudetto. On that Italian Serie A table, following their victory yesterday, Napoli are now in third place with 56 points. AC Roma come fourth with 41 points. Como are fifth with 48 points. Juventus with 47 points. Atlanta with 45 points in fifth, sixth, and seventh place, respectively. In the drop zone or the relegation battle, in as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned, apologies. Okay, let's see. In the relegation battle for the Italian Serie A, you have teams like Pisa. Pisa are in there. They are second from bottom with 15 points as a 20th place star Hellas Verona, while Lecce are the other team. Cremonese, Fiorentina are all in that relegation battle. Inter Milan wins this, though. I would like AC Milan to win. Well, only time will tell. On Super Sunday at 10:45 p.m. will be the kickoff for that game. I don't know. Do I have any side that I would wish to win? I've not watched actually. I don't think I've watched an AC Milan game this season, to be honest. But I'm going to be looking forward to that one to see how Massimiliano's Allegri side behave. At least I've watched Inter when they bring on the energy, Di Marco, different beast, Denzel Dumfries. We know what he's capable of. Alessandro Bastoni, Nico Barrera, Hakani Chanalolu has played for AC Milan before. I think he was. No, was he? No, he was. I don't think he was part of Stefano Pioli's title-winning side in 2022. Was it 2022, 2021, 2022 season? Yes, I think they won, and then Napoli won 2023, then 2024, Inter Milan. Then Napoli won again in 2025. So, anyways, yeah, the Milan derby does promise to be very, very interesting. Then also, now, when you go to the Spanish La Liga, that game between Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao, for me, I'm not too enthused about that one. Not that I won't be watching it, but it's a fixture that Barcelona have been so dominant in that you have to go back in the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey over 2024 to find a victory of Athletic Bilbao over Barcelona. So when it comes to the Spanish La Liga, I don't remember the last time Bilbao beat up against Barcelona. So it's been a one-sided kind of winner battle. But of course, expect to see the likes of Unai Simon in goal for Bilbao. Expect to see players like Danny Vivian. This one got himself a red card during their semi-final tie against Man United last season in the UEFA Europa League. Expect to see players like Emerick Laporte, Yuri, uh, players like Yuri Bachiche. Expect to see players like Mikel Joaregeza, Alex Belenguer, Ohan Sunset, Inaki Williams. Nico Williams has been quite the drop off this season ever since he was given that 10-year contract. Expect to see players like Goka Gruzeta really for that, Bilbao side. Then on the Barcelona side, expect to see their number one rescuer this season in Joan Garcia in goal, Pau Kubas and Eric Garcia in that backline, maybe Gerard Martin and Jose Kunde or Joao Cancelo. Expect to see Marc Beno alongside Pedri. If Frankie de Jong is not available because he's been out with a thigh injury recently, expect to see a Fermin Lopez, a Rafinha, a Lamine Yamal, and a Ferran Torres. Or maybe Lewandowski returns for this one. So, but Alejandro Balde is out through a hamstring strain. Then Jules Koundé has a hamstring strain. So those are some of the injuries, as well as Andreas Christensen with a cruciate ligament injury. Oh, so that one is a bit of a bad one. So for Athletic Bilbao, Aita Paredes is out. Nico Williams has hernia. Marwan Samadi is out, as well as Unai Iguez. So those are some of the players that will be missing that tie, really. But I do look forward to watching that game in the late kickoff today between Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao. I'll be watching that game alongside the game between Manchester City and Newcastle. Will be here for the 11 p.m. Night broadcast for Saturday. Yes, and then on Sunday, we do not have a morning broadcast. We do the night broadcast at 11 still. So really, that's what will be happening. So guys, this is just a kind reminder. Do not forget to please go over to the channel under the video section and watch those 3 videos that we've recently premiered. One came the other day. Yesterday we had one, and today we've had another. That was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, respectively, where we talk about what type of manager do Manchester United need. We dissect that in about 26 minutes. Then my worry about Arsenal for the remainder of this season, I give my thoughts in about 15 minutes of that one there. Then there's also why I think I do give the reasons why I think the Premier League title race is far from over, despite Manchester City dropping points the other day. So it's something that I want to hear your thoughts on. Go and watch those respective videos and let me know what your thoughts are. And we will continue to engage bit by bit as we go through the weekend. So I'll be interested in hearing what your feedback is on those respective topics. Do you share similar sentiments? Do you have different views? How do you look at things? Then also, I wish to send my sincere vote of thanks to all those that have recently subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much. Those that watch our live broadcasts long after they've ended, we do not take your love and support for granted. You do us absolute. We appreciate the love really, really so much. So keep doing what you do, and we'll keep trying to deliver the very best for you as much as we can, as often as possible. Also, people who manage to go through the short section and watch some of those short clips, majority of them are pre-cut out highlights by YouTube from these live episodes. But every time I can spare a moment to record one, I try my best to do one. And so yeah, it's been quite fulfilling doing those. So please go over there also under the short section and watch as many you can. Many of them are under 1 minute, especially from the live highlights. Then there's a couple of them that are about 3 minutes. Those are the ones that I record myself and things like that. So they're within under 3 minutes, rest assured. So they won't take much of your time, but you can scroll through and watch a couple of those as well. with that said, I want to say thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you so much, President Kosi, and every single one of you that has been part of this morning broadcast. People, those that like the broadcast, those that haven't, those that send in questions and comments, those that reach out in different ways, you can. Guys, you can always go under the channel. My bios, my socials are there, and you can always send through your inquiry, your message, or any other topic that you may want us to discuss. So I want to say thank you to all of you for your kind contribution towards the growth of this channel. It's because of you that I keep doing this. You give me the motivation to keep coming back and do what I love. I do this because I love it. Not because I'm earning from it. In any case, maybe in the future I'll start earning from it, but predominantly because I love it. So it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Stay blessed and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will catch up again tonight in our late night broadcast. That is at 11 p.m. East African time. Mwesigwa says, you are welcome. Thanks as always. All right. Bye-bye.